Hello, I'm the Beauty Professor, and you can find my beauty blog at www.beautyprofessor.net. Today I'm excited to do a quick product review and demonstration featuring a long-awaited complexion product for me, and that is the Surratt Diaphane Loose Compact Powder. Now, I have been completely entranced by the Surratt Beauty line, which is sold exclusively at Barney's. And I have been able to swatch nearly every product in every shade, and all of that can be found in images on my blog. That being said, the Diaphane powder, and I am quite a complexion product fiend. I love powders and foundations and trying new ones. But the powder had been sold out company-wide for months, and so I was eagerly awaiting a shipment and restocking at my nearest Barney's. And finally, early last week, I was told that the Barney's nearest to me received a shipment, and I was able to procure both the radiant version as well as the matte version. So today I'll give you a close-up look of the radiant version, which I've been keeping in my purse. And I'll also talk about the differences between the radiant version and the matte version, and then I will go ahead and show you how I like to apply it for setting my makeup and also for touch-ups throughout the day. So first things first, this powder is both a loose formula coupled with the convenience of a portable compact. To be clear, the powder refill and the compact are sold separately, each retail for $20. So the entire cost of the compact with the powder is $40, and I think that's fairly reasonable for a high-end niche independent luxury cosmetics brand. That being said, the radiant powder and the mattifying powder both have mattifying properties, and in a lot of ways I believe they can be used interchangeably. Now, I have swatches of both the radiant and the matte on my blog, and you'll notice even the pictures that there's very little difference. I will post new swatches and new lighting on my blog as well with this particular video, but truly on the face it's really hard to ascertain a difference between the two. I like a slightly satiny radiant finish, so I opt to wear the radiant more often than not. Onto the compact itself. So this is definitely aligned with the sleek minimalist Surratt Beauty aesthetic. It's a clamshell with slightly luminous shading up at the top here, and at the bottom it kind of morphs our ombres into matte. It's very clever. If you look closely, it's just beautiful. And then inside, of course, is the powder itself. And so with any good compact, there is a mirror, and I do use the mirror when I am touching up on the go with this particular product. Also, there is a powder puff with the Surratt insignia here, and it's quite a useful powder puff. Sometimes powder puffs that come with powders can be relatively chintzy and not particularly useful, but I like this one and I use it exclusively with this powder. I feel like it picks up just the right amount of product. It's easy to use. I prefer that it's a dark color because it just feels like it's less sullied, and it is cushy enough to make the whole powdering experience a comfortable one. So onto the way in which this compact works. Obviously the powder puff rests on this tray, which separates the powder from the puff, which is hygienic and practical. And then under the tray, if you lift, you'll get to the powder itself. Now, the tray serves two purposes. Obviously to serve as a barrier between the puff and the powder, but also it's got this kind of airtight layer on this side, the white part, which keeps the loose powder firmly in place when you're in transit. So I haven't had any kind of powder escaping this compact, despite the fact that it's very finely milled and loose, and so it could feasibly come out, but it does not because of the way that this compact is constructed. So under here we have the loose powder, and the loose powder is basically floating around in this lower portion of the compact, and it's held together or held in place by this mesh kind of netting. And when the powder puff is pressed onto the netting, you're able to release some of the powder onto the puff. The net makes sure that you're getting fresh powder each time, and it's also dispensing what could otherwise be a rather trepidatious formula, a loose powder, onto a puff. It keeps the mess at minimum, and it also keeps everything in place. Onto the way I like to apply this. So I use this powder in two ways. In one way, I might use it to follow up my morning makeup application and just put a bit across my T-zone to set my makeup and keep oil at bay. And another would be to touch up my face throughout the day. Now, the product claims to blur imperfections, to minimize pores, to create a radiant satin finish that's more even and just more refined, and I find it does all of these things. It's a translucent powder, meaning that even though you can see it, I suppose if you swatch it heavily, like I'll do right here, you can see it on my finger. Once it's applied to the skin, it just melds into the skin seamlessly without depositing any color. I would deem this particular powder a light, just ever so slightly yellow tinted pale beige, but because it's translucent, it does not affect the color of your existing foundation, and I do think that it would be a great match for virtually every skin tone because it just disappears into the skin once it's applied. And I would say that it's offering more of a textural refinement than it is any kind of color oriented refinement. That's what makes this so versatile. So it's super silky and smooth, and even when I look up close in the light, I don't see any obvious glitter particles, shimmer. The radiance is just so subtle, so subdued. Maybe you can get a sense of it here, I'm not certain, but it is just like satin rather than any kind of obvious illuminating type of powder. So it really can be used as an everyday translucent setting and touch-up powder rather than one that you might put on your skin to achieve a more radiant, luminous finish. I love the fact that it's both luminous just slightly as well as matte because it takes care of both skin concerns. We all want skin that looks like skin, but like the best version of skin we could possibly have. And so this radiance makes it look like skin, but the mattifying side of it obviously takes care of any unwanted shine. The way I like to apply this is to put some on a puff and then go ahead through my T-zone as I've mentioned. And so I'm just going to pat it in, and I'll get close to the camera so you can see how well this just disappears. Patting through here, under the eye zone, and truly it just leaves the most seamless, matte, slightly radiant finish that I've encountered in a very long time. It does not augment the shade of my foundation, it does not change the texture of my skin, if only to make it look smoother, and it does not leave behind a powdery white cast as many light high-def powders can do. Overall, the Surratt Beauty Diaphane Loose Powder Compact was definitely worth the wait for me. Upon swatching it months ago, I knew it was something that I wanted to integrate into my beauty arsenal, and while I did have to be patient about its arrival back into stock, I'm glad that I stuck it out because it has fast become a regular part of my routine. I love the fact that I get the benefits of a loose powder in the compact, portable nature of a good compact that actually keeps that loose powder in place, in check, so that it doesn't escape into your purse throughout the day. All in all, I am completely and utterly pleased with this product, and I highly recommend getting it. I wish you the best in your search since this powder seems to be in great demand and limited quantity, but I will include some of my Barney's New York contacts that I work with to procure items from the Surratt Beauty line in the details box in case you were like me and always on the hunt for the latest, greatest complexion product. I truly hope you enjoyed this quick review and demonstration, and of course I welcome your questions and your comments. I'd love to hear what products you might have tried from the Surratt Beauty line or which products you're interested in trying. As always, please do not forget to visit me at my beauty blog, Beauty Professor, which can be found at www.beautyprofessor.net. Take care.